Welcome to Delaney Diamond Presents an Author Chat, where we interview authors about their books, writing process, and personal lives. This show is sponsored by the Delaney Diamond Readers Lounge, an online community of readers where we bond over great books and support programs that promote literacy and book distribution. To join us, visit DelaneyDiamond.com and select the Readers Lounge tab.
Welcome to Delaney Diamond Presents an Author Chat. Hello, everyone. I am Delaney Diamond, author of sensual and passionate romance in the contemporary romance and romantic suspense genres. The theme for May in the Reader's Lounge is romantic suspense, and today I'm talking to my really good friend, Sharon C. Cooper, about her romantic suspense novel, Tempted. But before I get started with the questions, I want to tell you a little bit about Sharon. Sharon C. Cooper is the award-winning and USA Today best-selling author of over 30 novels. She loves anything involving happily ever afters, including books, movies, and, of course, real life. She writes romantic suspense, contemporary romance, and enjoys rainy days, carpet picnics, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Among her many awards, she won the Romance Slam Jam Emma Award for Author of the Year in 2019, and that same year, she won the Favorite Hero Award for her novel Indebted. When she's not writing, she's hanging with her husband, doing volunteer work, or reading a good book. Please welcome Sharon C. Cooper. Hey, Sharon.
Hey, hi, everybody.
How are you doing today? What's the weather like over there in Georgia?
What'd you say?
What's the weather like over there in Georgia?
Okay. Well, I've been held up in my writing cave.
Okay.
So let me look out. I think it's been raining off and on.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
But nothing too major. I think it's still probably like 70 some degrees, maybe even 80.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty nice over here. It was raining earlier when I went out, but it's a lot better now.
Now, do you guys
come out?
Do you have the same temperature typically as?
Yeah, although sometimes it's I'm over here in Huntsville, Alabama, and sometimes it's a little cooler actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So all right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the questions. Basically, the first questions are us just getting to know you, okay?
Okay.
So
don't make them hard, though.
Of course not. We're friends.
Yeah. That's what I'm worried about.
All right. So the first question that I want to ask you basically is, what is your author origin story? And basically, that's me just trying to find out what inspired you to start writing and why did you pick romance?
Oh, why did I start writing? Whenever I answer this question, I think I change the answer every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think I started writing because I enjoyed romance, reading romance. I enjoy reading romance. So then I figured, like everybody, I can write a romance. And so that's where it started. Well, actually, it started with a children's book. I started with a children's book, to be honest.
Oh, no, I did not know that about you.
You
okay.
Know that?
No, I sure didn't.
Yes, I started. My family, my parents have been entrepreneurs all my life. And so me and my siblings ran their childcare center. They had a pretty large accredited childcare center for 20 some years. And so we're surrounded by kids everywhere. Lots and lots of kids. And so when I moved, and that was in Milwaukee, and when I moved to San Diego, I kept thinking of this idea that I had for a children's book. So I wrote one, and it was called But I Washed My Hands Yesterday.
Oh.
And, yeah. And I have to admit, it was a cool story. Long story short, it didn't sell as a children's book, but I tweaked it, changed it to a children's play, and it sold within a week.
Wow.
Yeah. It sold
That's
to this
amazing.
company. I don't know. It used when I was growing up, and it was like a long time ago. In grade school, when they put on plays, they used to get the different plays from a company. And I don't know if they were approved by the school board or what. Anyway, that company is who bought my play.
Oh,
And it's called,
wow.
you could probably Google it, but I washed my hands yesterday. It's
But I
still out there
watched
somewhere.
yeah, that's so cool. I knew that you had written before, but like before you started writing romance, but I didn't know that it was a children's book because I think the first one you had written, wasn't it like women's fiction or something like
Oh
that?
yeah, something
That's
new.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was familiar with. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I forget about the children's book. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, but that's my
Okay,
story.
so let's go back to the romance. You decided you wanted to start writing romance. Was that easy or harder than you thought it would be? How was
Oh
it when you
yeah, are you
read
kidding me? As I'm on a couple of deadlines as we speak, yes, way harder. Every book feels
it?
like a first book.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's still hard. It's a lot harder than you would think. You know, a lot of times we'll read a book, it's like, oh, I can write that, or I can do that, until you have to do
Until
it.
you actually have to do it, yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of work, especially if you want it to be an enjoyable read. There's a lot
Mhm.
of work that goes into these stories. Everything from, coming up with an engaging plot to research.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, so I really love what I do, but it's probably the hardest job I've ever had.
Mhm.
And I was
Okay.
a sheet metal worker, so that's saying a lot.
Right. So, okay, it's harder than you thought it would be, but what so you've been writing now or published now for what, 10
10
years or
years.
something? 10 years? Okay.
10 years and 1 month, I published my first book. And that was
Mhm.
something new. Yep. Thanks to you. Did anybody know that Delaney made me publish my first book?
I
I am
did. I
not.
put a gun to her head. Yeah.
She did. And it was like, what are you waiting for? She's all nice to you guys, but she just keeps it real with the rest of us. Okay. I just had to throw that out there.
Okay, so let me see. I'm checking the chat here and we have a couple of questions before we go on.
Yes,
Someone wants to know.
Missy. Missy, yes, she's a book bully.
A book bully.
I'm glad I
I've
turned
been
on the
called.
chat.
I've been called a lot of things in my life, but that's a new one. Thanks, thanks, Mitzi and Sharon. Um, but Alice had a question for you, and she wanted to know because you mentioned the sheet metal work, and she wanted to know if that's where you got the idea for the Jenkins series.
Who is she?
Um, no, the sheet metal work. Alice,
Oh,
she
Alice wanted
wanted
to
to know,
know if that's,
yeah,
yes.
if that's where you got the idea.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to think if there's any stories that are similar to mine. I'm terrified of rodents. So
Oh
I used
yeah,
that in a couple of books.
that was in the first
Actually,
one.
yeah,
Mhm.
I used it in the short story and Tony and Craig's main story. They're full length now, but I used it in there too. Because
Mhm.
Tony in the story is terrified. And it's funny. It's something like that is super funny to a construction worker because we're always having to go into attics or basements or crawl
Mhm.
around in tunnels and stuff. And so you're gonna always see rodents and creepy crawlies and yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a phobia, but I wouldn't want to see them anyway. So
Okay. Yeah.
that's not something I would want to see.
Yep, but that's where the Jenkins family, that's where that series came from, is some of, just being at the time when I was a sheet metal worker in Milwaukee, I was the only African American sheet metal worker while I was
Yeah.
in the trade. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It was for
Okay.
years.
Breaking down barriers. Look at you.
Yes. It was interesting. Good and bad, you know. It was
Oh, I'm
fabulous
sure.
with the main people I work with were amazing. But I remember when I first got into the trade and I went to this company, nobody looked like me. And they were all older white guys. And I remember the foreman, and you know, when I reported to him that very first time, I was 18, and I said, "Yeah, I'm here from the union, and I'm the new apprentice." And I said, "And I'm supposed to start today," or something like that. He said, "I asked for an apprentice, and they sent you."
Wow.
So yeah, so I had to prove myself.
Right. Well, we're used to that anyway, right? So
right. Learned really early in life.
real fast, yeah. So, okay, so tell me about, in terms of writing, tell me about something that you've learned since in these past 10 years that you've been writing and published that you wish you could go back and tell your younger self. Because I'm sure you've learned something that you think, oh my God, I wish I had known this when I started. Or whether it's a tip, it could be good, bad, whatever. Anything that you wish you could go back and tell yourself?
I wish I had a bigger vocabulary. I wish I had a Delaney Diamond vocabulary. I am serious. I got straight A's in throughout English classes and was a very good student. But my vocabulary is not that broad.
Oh.
Yeah. So I would tell myself to probably, I bet you're expecting something a little more juicier than that, but yeah, I will probably tell myself to work a little harder as far as building my vocabulary.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty practical though. And it's certainly something that would benefit you as a writer, right?
Oh, most definitely. Because now the source is constantly open.
Right. Okay, so take us behind the scenes of your processes. When you're writing a story and you're going from the idea to when you say, this is it, the end, what does that look like for Sharon C. Cooper?
Okay, so I usually, for some reason, the first thing that pops in my head are occupations. And then I put names with those occupations. This is before the plot, before I even have a good solid idea of the story. So I start with that. And then from there, I just start, once I have a little inkling of what I want to happen in the story, then I have a notebook for every book I've written. And each notebook.
A separate notebook for each one?
A separate notebook for each story. I love notebooks, basically. And so in that notebook, my very first page is usually a character list, like all the characters in the story, who I want or need. One that's just to, as I'm writing, I won't, forget, I've used a Paul already or whatever. And then throughout that notebook, I just start writing, I'd say probably for the first, 20, 30 pages, just scene ideas. And as I write scene ideas and other ideas come, and then, but in between there, I might start with the scene ideas, but then I do a character sketch for the two main characters.
Okay.
I write down everything from what their hobbies are, their skin color, if they're a pessimist or an optimist. I mean, anything you could possibly think of, I usually add it to that character sketch. And that helps me kind of get to know the character. And then as I get to know the character, I come up with more scene ideas. And then after I come up with enough scene ideas, I do an outline and try to plug those scenes where I will want them in the story.
Okay.
After the outline.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's pretty detailed initially, but go ahead, continue.
It is. And you would think that I could just plow right through a story with all that information. But lately, probably with the last, what'd you say?
I said not so much, I bet,
Not
huh?
so much, because probably with the last, I don't know, maybe 10 stories, the outlines don't look, the stories don't look like the outlines. They have changed. They changed. So I don't know if I'm not spending enough time on the outlines or if I'm just getting old and I just want to, my brain just wants to do whatever it wants to do or something. I'm not sure. Or
I
maybe it's
actually
the
don't think that
characters.
that's not even so unusual because I mean I'm a pantser, you know that. So
Right.
I don't do outlining. But just from talking to other plotters, it's so often that they don't actually follow the outline that they write. It's almost like, okay, the outline is a map, but you can veer off and make a left instead of going straight. You still have, you know,
That's true.
different ideas that kind of crop up, I
Right.
guess.
Right.
And so, so it gives you a roadmap so that you kind of have a direction to go in, but you're not restricted to that.
You
Whereas
know,
with,
but you would think that would be a good thing. But that would
yeah,
make me be a more flexible person. But because I'm an A-type personality, a little OCD, it is really hard to make myself veer away from the outline. So it's a struggle because it's like, well, this is supposed to happen. And then I get frustrated because it's not happening the way I wrote it in the outline.
oh
And
yeah,
so, I'm working on myself to be a little more flexible. That way I can just plow through the story instead of wrestling with myself.
yeah.
And
Instead of fighting whatever the creative
exactly,
juices are that come up because it doesn't fit
exactly. And
within
I
the,
do that,
yeah.
unfortunately, I do that. Still, after 10 years.
Now, okay, so now I want to ask you a little bit about the romantic suspense, the makeup of your romantic suspenses. Like, for
Okay.
instance, do you have a percentage in mind where it's like, say, 60-40 romance versus suspense or 70-30? Does any of that matter to you, or are you just kind of going with the flow? Because
No,
you
it
sound
does matter. It
it
matters
does
to
matter.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, because mainly I look at my romantic suspense as romance with a big dose of suspense. And
Mm-hmm.
so that would mean my intent, I don't know if it always comes out that way, is to have 70% romance and maybe 30%, about 70-30 or 60-40. But more, I prefer more romance. I shouldn't say prefer, but I aim for more romance than the suspense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
And so
That's interesting.
I don't know if it always comes out that way, but that's usually my intent. I'm trying to think if
Mm-hmm.
there's a story that had more suspense than romance that I've written. I can't remember. You would have to
Okay,
ask
but
Alice.
with your have to ask Alice, you said. Well, you know what? It's the fact that you're like you have you have a goal in mind, right?
Yeah,
So that probably makes it so much easier to actually hit the plot points that you want to hit for romance and the plot points that you want to hit for the suspense portion. So you're able to weave it. It's like, okay, this is a romance, but it's got some suspense, and you just kind of weave the suspense in between there
exactly.
to a lesser degree. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
think with the Harlequin books might have more suspense.
More. Yeah,
Maybe.
the ones that I've read seem to lean more toward the suspense.
Yeah, I think now that
I
I'm
agree.
thinking about it. Yeah. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure why. It just kind of worked itself out like that. But
Mhm.
usually when I'm jotting down scene ideas in a notebook, I try to, keep that in mind, that I want it to be more romance than suspense. So I really try to add more scenes that could, help me, build up the romance part
Mhm.
even more than the suspense.
So we have a couple of comments in the chat. I'm just going to read them to you real
Oh,
quick.
okay.
Brenda says, I love your romantic suspense stories. The bad guys are
Thank
really
you,
bad.
Brenda.
Great characterization.
Thank
And
you.
Alice has addressed your concern, and she said Indebted had more suspense than romance to her.
Oh,
It took
okay.
Laz and Journey a long time to actually get some romance going. So that's
Okay.
her opinion on that one. Yeah.
And I think
Um,
Alice has read everything, so I would say she's probably right.
she knows, right? um, so let's go ahead and start talking about Atlanta's Finest.
Okay.
It's a really popular series. When it was picked in the lounge as our book of the month, Tempted was picked in the lounge as the book of the month. People were really happy about it because quite a few of the readers were familiar with the series. They'd read some or all of the books in the
Nice.
series. Yeah, so it was
Wow.
they were really excited. My question for you is, where did the idea come from? And this was also one of the questions in the chat. Where did the idea come from for Atlanta's Finest? And then part two to that is, how do you keep coming up with ideas for each new novel?
Where did that idea come from? I'm trying to think. I know it was supposed to be, this series is supposed to be a spinoff of the Reunited series. Because my goal with all of my series is not to make them so long to where either people get tired of them or so long to where new people don't want to jump in because they got to read 8 to 10 books of the series. And so I think that was why I did or attempted to do like a spinoff of the Reunited series. They're very different though, because I think the Reunited series might have had more suspense than the Atlanta's Finest series. Okay, so that's what made me. That's how I came up with the idea because I wanted a spinoff. And
part two was, how do you come up with ideas for each novel?
How do I don't know. They just kind of come up. Like I can just be like, for instance, Tempted years ago. I remember my husband and I were walking through this parking lot, and there was this car, old car, and the back of the car was almost dragging on the ground. And my first thought was like, "Ooh, I hope it ain't a dead body in there."
You are such a writer. Only a writer would be thinking that.
I remember Al said, Al was like, of all the things you could have come up with, how did you come up with that? And it was like and I was real serious because it was like the first thing that popped in my mind, because he was like, it could be bricks, it could be anything in there. And the only thing I thought of was, I hope it's not a dead body in there. So then an idea sparked. So I was like, I just need a story to put that in. And that's usually how the ideas come. I can just be, I don't know, just sitting somewhere random, or really see something, and then the ideas spark. And then I just try to, make it, over the top. And that's how the ideas come. So it's nothing like, I don't do anything super fancy or anything like. Sometimes the ideas will come depending because like I said, usually the first things that come to me are occupations and names. And so then it's like, when I think of the occupation, it's like, okay, what kind of story would go good with this occupation? And yeah, so I don't really have a good system. It's just like pretty random.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal though, because that's why they say as writers, we should be living our lives because we get inspiration from so many different things, whether it's people around us, movies, other books that we read. So it's not, it's kind of hard to pinpoint sometimes a specific thing that inspires a story, but just by us living our lives, spending time with family, going out, which is why I think the pandemic has affected so many writers, because
I agree.
So many people were not able to just go out and experience life. And so a lot of people they lost the inspiration that they normally would be getting because they were locked inside. Yeah.
I agree. Either they lost it or they, got inspiration. It might not be as might not be the type of inspiration they initially wanted,
Yeah, right.
More depressing or
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to be uplifting and
exactly
positive.
Yeah, it might be hard to write romance if you're going through,
going through it. Exactly.
I'm looking in the comments. It's like, thank you all for.
I know they're showing some love, right?
Yeah, I'm like, they've read all of my books, and thank you, Sharon, Mitzi, Alice. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Tammy, for pre-ordering. Yeah. You guys have me grinning over here.
Mitzi's like, Laz is a one-click type situation. Okay. We're going to get to Laz because I know that he's one of your more popular.
Oh my goodness, I could tell you
characters. Okay, so let's go ahead and real quick talk about Tempted. I'll let you give us a summary of the characters and the plot real quick before we delve into the questions about the story.
Okay. Tempted. You said the summary.
Yeah, just give us a quick summary.
I've written 6 books since that one. It really cracks me up when I get an email and somebody will ask me about a character, and I'm thinking like, okay, now which book was this? Well, just a quick summary. This story is Ashton Chambers, and Ashton Chambers and Dani Eubanks. This is their story. And Ashton, most people knew Ashton from the very beginning of the series, because if I'm not mistaken, he started in Vindicated. Mm-hmm. And him and Lazarus were partners. And I've always liked Ashton. And I don't even know why, just some characters just kind of, you just love them. Even if they don't have a really big part, it could be just, because, when we're writing stories, it's like we can actually feel and see these characters. And so I've always loved Ashton. But unfortunately, his story just kept getting pushed back because I couldn't figure out who to match him up with. And it wasn't until Delaney, it wasn't until we did that collaboration, the Irresistible Husband series. Mm-hmm. And Dani. And after Dani, after her story was published, and people started asking us, is Dani getting a story? Is Dani getting a story? And I was like, man, we got to give Dani a story. And then I thought about Ashton. I'm like, oh my goodness, they'd be perfect together. Mm-hmm. He's real cool, laid back, patient. And she's just not, she's just out there. And so I really had a good time pulling their story changed drastically from the outline, but I really enjoyed them as a couple. It was like I could totally see them together, see some of their interaction, see her driving him nuts, mm-hmm. being hard to get, not really playing hard to get, because she just wasn't there. She wasn't where he was.
And she'd had her heart broken a couple of times.
Yeah, a couple of times.
She was being a little cautious.
Exactly. So that's how they just kind of came together. I just thought their personalities would fit. And I think I saw where somebody asked, why was she a bar owner?
Right. Mm-hmm. And why was she friends with Chloe?
Chloe. Yeah, Chloe. I didn't really like Chloe. And she was a person that got quite a few emails. When is her story coming out? I'm thinking like, I cannot redeem that sister. She just
really, because I just knew she was gonna get a story because at the end, yes, because her and Ian seem to have this connection.
No, are you kidding me? I am not putting her with Ian. I love Ian already. You dangled a carrot,
lady. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to deliver.
Don't tell me you're like Team Chloe.
I'm not Team Chloe, but I'm definitely curious about her and Ian because
Really?
it seemed like there was something there at the end. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm not putting her with Ian. Yeah, she loves men.
Goodness.
She loves men, but she's not getting Ian.
Okay.
Nah.
Okay.
Maybe I'll bring her back just as a antagonist or something. Maybe she'll interrupt Ian's love story or something. I don't know. But right now, yeah, I have no plans for Chloe.
I
And
don't know.
she was
People in the chat are saying that Chloe needs a story. But
what?
okay.
Really?
Okay.
I don't know if I could do anything with Chloe. Yeah, because when I hinted with about her and Ian, it wasn't that I was gonna give them a story. I don't know why I did that. That wasn't an outline. I just, I just got
left
carried
turn and
away.
you didn't go straight on the
Yeah.
outline. So
Yeah, so but yeah, Dani was a bar owner because we needed a bar owner for our
the
Irresistible Husband
collaboration.
series.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she just kind of fit the bill. Yeah. Did I
Okay.
answer all the questions? I start
Mhm.
rambling and
Yeah, you answered the
okay.
question. I've got some more for you though.
Okay.
Um, okay, so this particular question is basically about the characters, and what I want to know is, are there any characters in the story or the series even that you really enjoy writing about? And please talk about Laz, whether or not he's your favorite, because there's a question in the chat about what prompted you to write this character.
You
So
know,
that's gonna be. Go ahead.
man, Laz just kind of came out of nowhere. To be honest with you, I know why he came up. He came up because I was asked to be a part of the Breaking Bad box set. And they wanted a short story and they wanted the heroes to be alpha, just bad, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I didn't want him bad. I just wanted him a little bad, like a lovable bad kind of,
Right.
But writing him, it just felt like anything goes. And you know how it is when you have those characters where anything goes. It's just
so
like,
much fun.
It is.
It's so much fun.
It is, definitely. So I will say he's one of my favorite characters that I've written. Him, Dakota, she's another one because she's like Geneva. Geneva is the female version of Lazarus. And they just, anything goes with them. They are who they are, and they're not, they just don't care. They're just who they are. And so it makes it really a lot of fun to write them. Did you ask if I had a favorite character in the series?
Yeah, I was wondering if there was one character that you actually enjoyed writing about the most. And then I have another follow-up to the Laz question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've enjoyed most of them. I've enjoyed all of the main characters.
Geneva.
Yeah, Geneva was fun to write because she was a female version of Lazarus. So it was like she, she was a total badass. The cursing, I think I had it in a story. She was beating up a kid with her bat because he had messed up her Mustang. And it's like, just the idea of a classic Mustang being, destroyed. She just went in on him, and I just could totally picture it. But I don't know in that series if I had an absolute favorite. Dominic, Hamilton's son, when he first appeared in the Vindicate, I think he was like 11 years old. He might be my favorite because I used my nephew as my inspiration. And so I would always ask my nephew questions. And my nephew, he's not really shy, but he's definitely introverted. And so getting information out of him, was a little hard. But, he would do things or say things. He was horrible at keeping secrets. And so I had to make Dominic horrible at keeping secrets. And so it really made it, he was just an adorable character. I really need to bring him back, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think he might be my favorite. Him and Dakota. Yeah.
I'm going to circle back to Laz again, because there was a question in the chat I didn't want to miss, and it's from Mitzi, and she said, were any of your characters, such as Laz or that punk Knox, modeled after anyone?
No. I love Knox's name. Is that not a cool name for a bad guy?
That is a cool name, yeah. It really is.
No, I don't know. I think Dominic might be the only person modeled in this series after anyone. Martina and the Jenkins family. I didn't realize it when I was writing her, but she has some of my sister tendencies. My sister is like, you guys will love her. She's just like one of these people that everybody loves. One of those people that they make a friend wherever they go. She's one of them people. And she kind of reminds me a little bit of Martina, because she's funny. And she's funny. She doesn't try to be funny, but she's just hilarious. She just has such a witty personality, even when she's not trying to be funny. And she'll say stuff, that, because her and I are like opposites. And she'll just, like, there's a comment in one of the Jenkins book where it says, I think one of the girls says something to Martina. So, how did it taste? And then Martina's looking at it, because this was after an argument with her mother or something. How did it taste? And then Martina was like, how did what taste? And she said, the foot in your mouth. And my sister said that to me once. And it's like, those are the kind of things that, I put in books, because those are the things that they'll say.
Right.
Yeah. So she's probably, there's probably a lot of her quotes in the books that I just can't think of off the top of my head, but that was one of them. Because there was something, I had put my big foot in my mouth, and then she just comes over, whispers. I'm thinking she's going to be like, don't feel bad, we all goof up with some of our words or whatever. Yeah. But she was like, how did it taste? And I'm like, how did what taste? She said, that foot in your mouth. It's like,
and came over and asked you. That's
yes, really... and she whispered it. It was like, I'm thinking she's going to show empathy or something.
Nope.
Yeah, but anyway. Did I answer the question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You absolutely did. All right, let's go to the chat real quick and see what people are saying. Let's see. Okay, Alice wants to know was there any particular reason why you had Chloe be an escort to wealthy men? And
I don't even know. It was like one of those things where you just coming up with ideas and like, ooh, I think that'll be fun, and you just run with it. That's how Chloe came to be.
All right. And more comments. She was good and no nonsense type of person. So I liked Dani a lot. Laz was a sexy. Yeah, Laz. I'm just reading comments.
Oh, okay.
Laz was a sexy bad boy, I guess it might be needed there. I'm not sure. He was one of those cops where his heart was in the right place, even though he did not always follow the rules. Yeah, definitely. That would be him. Geneva was off the chain, and I loved it very much.
Geneva was fun. She was fun because it's like she was one of those characters. She could say anything, And throughout the series, I just kept her like that, because you always need a few characters like that just kind of...
The ones who kind of keep it real. And
Yeah.
All right, so we're nearing, we're winding down. So I'm going to try to squeeze a couple more questions in here before we run out of time.
Okay.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, why does this couple work as a couple? Why did you decide to put them together? You said once you saw Dani as that character, and in the bar, you thought, oh, she would be perfect for Ashton. What was it
Yeah.
about them that you thought would work?
You know, how I pictured Ashton, he was, that guy that every woman, looks for. Patient, kind, a little bit alpha, but not over the top like Lies. And I thought she needed someone after 2 broken engagements and just, pretty much have given up on love or whatever. I thought she kind of needed someone who could coax her out of that, coax her from behind that wall that she had built up. And I thought he would be perfect. Because in my head, he was like this perfect guy, hardworking, compassionate, but, still had a little edge to him,
Right.
without being too over the top.
Which would be good for her.
Yeah.
And he was he was really caring too. Like, the way that he was caring without being overbearing, because that scene in the bar where that guy was harassing her initially, and he was there, he didn't jump up right away and do something. He kind of, just waited to see. Yeah, let me see how this is going to play out, kind of thing.
That's where that patience kind of came in at. The guy just kind of caught him on a bad day too. So.
Well, I mean, he kind of deserved it, I did not blame Ashton, and I'm always about the men, like defending the women. I like to see people get beat up in defense of the heroine. So I was like, but I mean, him being a cop, I know that he had to have restraint. He can't just go all crazy and do whatever.
And it was really important that I added that part where he, was having that talk with himself, like, okay, remember, you were a badge, where he really, wanted to slam the guy's head into a wall or something. But I really tried to make sure that, I didn't condone like cops beating up, especially the way I opened up Lazarus' first book, with him beating up a kid. And so I didn't want it to seem like I condone cops beating up on folks.
Police brutality, yeah, that's not
exactly. So it was like, okay, I knew I had to make him, talk to himself. Okay, remember, you're a cop. You're a cop.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. In the chat, Tammy said Ashton was done with being the police, but he wanted to get the guy that killed his sister first. Glad he's moving on. Yep. She also said it's always good to hear about a man defending a woman.
Oh, yeah. And then, I do love damsels in distress, guys coming to the rescue. I mean, not if they're like, the too stupid to live kind of characters, but
damsels. Yeah. All right. We have 2 more questions. One is from Mitzi. I'm going to read that to you, and then I'm going to ask mine separately. Okay. So hers is, as it relates to the suspense, did you think about ending this book differently?
I did. I actually had that drunk coming back. He was going to have a run-in with Dani. I think somehow if I remember in the outline, he actually somehow got into her office. And that they were going to have, kind of a fight scene. That was
between him and Dani, or
him and Dani. Yeah, he was going to come back for revenge because it was because of her. He was embarrassed in front of others.
Right.
He felt like got roughed up by a cop, and so he wanted to retaliate. And so in my outline, he was actually supposed to come back in the story.
Okay.
But it didn't happen, especially after the scene with her almost getting kidnapped.
Tommy said Dani would have whooped his butt.
He really would have. Yeah.
I mean, she had a gun, so she could kind of take care of herself a little bit.
Yeah, but that was supposed to come back towards the end. Never happened, so.
All right. So then
how did you guys like the ending? With them riding off into the sunset, getting married. Was it too cheesy?
She's asking let us know in the chat. What did you guys think about the ending of the story? Okay. Tammy liked it. Mitzi said she loves HEAs. Yes, we all do. Oof.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, because
We need that HEA
ending,
in a romance.
it changed a few times.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So definitely some positive feedback that they liked it. So that's good,
good.
right?
Okay. Good.
All right. So then my last question for you is, while you were
Wait,
writing
the
Tempted,
time is up already.
it's up. I told you
It
it
went
goes fast.
fast.
It goes so fast. So while you were writing Tempted, did you learn anything new in your research? Because I know as authors, we can go down these rabbit holes and get really snowed under with information. And the crazy thing is we can't use it all, right?
Right.
But I know that often we learn things, and I was just wondering if there's anything that you learned when you were researching Tempted, because you talked about like the gangs and the escort service and all that. Was there anything that you picked up while you were researching?
I'm trying to think. Some of the stuff that was in that book was researched for other books, especially regarding gangs, the gun deal. Trying to think if I learned anything new. I'm 100% sure I did, but just off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I know, like with when Dani was fighting the two guys that were trying to take her, certain things I remember when I was a sheet metal worker. I remember one of the guys, I used to learn so much from those guys, stuff that I'm sure my parents wouldn't approve of, but I learned a lot from them. And one was some self-defense moves about, the eyes. Instead of
gouging the eyes.
Yeah. Instead of swinging, like swinging your hand to hit somebody, you do more jabs because you can cause more damage, or you use something, say if you just happen to have your umbrella in your hand and somebody comes after you, instead of just trying to whack them with it, you jab, because you can cause more damage that way. So just stuff like that was reiterated when I did, some additional research, like, okay, how can I get this little old woman to beat up these two guys? And so I did do a little more work as far as I did do a little more research regarding self-defense. Of course, I didn't use half of the stuff, but just enough to make it feel, authentic.
Right. Okay.
And I probably looked up some stuff as far as legal stuff. I'm sure I looked up some stuff, because every now and then I'll try to, especially with the cops and the stories, throw in something regarding, if something is a felony or you're going to go to jail for X amount of years. I probably looked up stuff like that. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
Specific,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the questions. But before we go, is there anything that you have going on, coming up? Any sales, any new books you're writing? Let us know about what you've got going on.
Okay, what do I have going on? I know there's a Kindle deal going on for Jada Jenkins stories. I think that book is like 99 cents on Amazon for another day or two. That might be the only sale off the top of my head.
And what about your next release? You have a Laz book coming out,
yes,
right?
Lazarus Committed. That's coming out in July 8th to be exact. And right now that book you can pre-order for $3.99. It will be going up to $4.99 like immediately after the release. So if you haven't pre-ordered, I suggest you pre-order it. You're gonna enjoy it. Lazarus is typical Laz.
Doing Laz
things. Yeah, there's a little trouble in paradise. So
between him and Journey?
Yes, they go through it, and he just, man. Yeah. they go through it. Probably,
Wow.
I hope not too much, but yeah, those first couple of scenes, first couple of chapters, yeah, she got on his bad side, and he didn't hold back, so it was fun to write those scenes. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. It's gonna be a good story. It's gonna be an enjoyable story.
And so where can people find you online? What's your website address?
You can find me and everything that I'm working on my website. Actually, not everything, because In It to Win It is my next romantic comedy that's coming up. But I know we're talking about suspense, so anyway.
No, but that's fine too.
Oh yeah,
but that
comes out December 13th.
December. Okay.
Yeah,
December 13th.
And I'll probably start sharing excerpts with my newsletter followers in the next couple of months. What else is going on? But anyway, you can find
up for that one. Do you know?
What'd you say?
Does the publisher have the pre-order up for In It to Win It?
Yes, that is up everywhere.
Okay.
I'm glad we're talking about that. I need to add it to my website. Yeah. So, but yeah, you can get that. You can pre-order that. That's all over the place. And what else is going on? Casino Heat, reunited series. This story, Hunter's story, is Malik's NBA playing brother. Finally gets his story. I've been working on this story off and on for years. And so that's going to be book 5 in the reunited series. That's also up for pre-order. And you can find more details about it on my website under Coming Soon. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter. I just can't remember my handles at the moment. My brain is fried, y'all. Been pumping out words.
Being in the writing cave.
Yes. This was a nice little break. Yeah, this was a nice little break. But yeah, you can find me and all my where I'm at online on my website. All of that information.
Yeah, Sharon Cooper.
At SharonCooper.net.
Okay, yeah. Because all your links for your social media and all that anyway is on your website.
Yeah, it's on my website.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to just read a couple of things in the chat because you're about to go, and so everyone's saying goodbye. They're thanking you for stopping in, saying it's been awesome. Keep the darn good books coming.
Okay.
I got love for your writing skills.
You guys are wonderful.
Thank you for coming to the lounge. Counting down the days for Committed.
Okay.
Already pre-ordered, Sharon said. Counting down the days, Lot of Mercy. And G Pope, she joined late, but she wanted to let you know that she loves all your books, especially
thank you, G Pope, and Tammy, and Sharon, and Brenda, Alice, Mitzi, Alicia. Thank you all for hanging out, because I know everybody's so busy these days, so it's so nice.
I know.
You guys joined us. Yeah.
And thank you so much for accepting my invitation, because I know you're so busy and you have all these interviews and things to do with the publisher since you're doing romantic suspense. So, romantic comedy. So I really appreciate you squeezing us in. And
it's my pleasure. Anytime.
All right, everyone.
And thanks for all of you guys' support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you to everyone for listening, everyone who was able to make it. Really appreciate it, and all the kind words that you have for Sharon. Make sure that you grab a copy of her novel, Tempted, if you haven't already. And that's going to be it for this episode of Delaney Diamond Presents. Until next time, laugh often, love hard, and read a lot. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.